Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Morgan. I am a gardener in Central Texas, Zone 8B/9A. We got our zone changed last year, so I kind of say both. It's sort of in the middle. It kind of depends on where you are. Also, I'm south of Austin, Texas, so yeah, I thought I would go through and do a little sit-down video today. I haven't done a sit-down video for a while. I usually just kind of show you around the garden. Well, I haven't really been making that many videos, but I thought I would go through a couple things that I do to automate my garden to make it easier, because wall gardening is definitely a passion of mine. I love it. It's lots of fun. I'm also very busy. I work full-time. I have kids, all life things, just like everyone else. So I have set some things in place to make my garden a little bit more automatic, and also just to help me actually use the things in my garden. So thought that I would go over them with you. I have a little list here to try to keep myself on track, because I do ramble a little bit, but I will go through and I'll have overlays of, showing you what I actually do, so you won't have to stare at my face the whole time. But so the first thing, which is the best thing that I have done in my garden, it's a game changer. I put it in last year. We bought this house almost 2 years ago, and so this is like my second real summer in this garden. We moved in like towards the end of summer, well, midsummer, but you know how it goes. It's not like you can just start gardening in July. You have to kind of have that like prepped for the whole year. But so really this summer is like my second real summer in this garden, this house. But drip irrigation, 100% worth it if you are in a hot climate that doesn't rain in the summer. Or now if you're somewhere where it rains a lot, it might not be worth it for you. But if you have a large garden, you probably know hand watering is exhausting. And the other thing is, even if you love hand watering, I don't mind it. It's like really kind of relaxing and nice. And I do have pots and things that I hand water. The problem is when things happen, life gets in the way, or you travel, if you go out of town, when you have drip irrigation, you don't need to have someone come and water your garden. Now I still have people come to take care of my chickens and things like that, but just one less thing to worry about when you're traveling, or if you just can't get out to the garden, you get sick or whatever. It's great. And also you waste less water because it goes directly to the soil. You're not like spraying and having evaporation. You can also make sure that you are changing that watering schedule when it comes to, like, if you get rain, you can turn it off and stuff like that. I think there are some ones you can connect to your phone to like automate it even more. I just have a timer that is a battery powered timer that hooks up to my hose, that I can set for what days of the week I want it watered, how long, etc. Or you can turn it on manually. Now that is something you would need to remove in the winter months, and I don't really run my drip irrigation in the winter, so that's something you want to think about. So drip irrigation, best thing ever, highly recommend. I would make a video about how I installed mine if anyone's interested. I use a drip tape. It's a very simple system. Let me know if y'all are interested in that. So plant placement is also going to be one thing that is really important when it comes to convenience in your garden. Now, I don't have a huge backyard. I don't know if you can tell, and this is my main garden area. I also have gardens in the front, on the side here, things like that, but I don't have a massive yard. In my old place, our yard was quite a bit bigger. Most of it was like backyard. We didn't really have a front yard. And so there was some areas where it was quite far to walk to get to my garden. And especially I didn't have drip irrigation, so I have to go out there and hand water. So I tend to place my plants pretty close to my house, just for convenience purposes. I have the plants that I have that are further away are going to be my native plants and my fruit trees, and that is because they need less consistent watering, or care, let's say. So like fruit trees, we just prune them once a year and then we harvest and keep them watered and fertilized. it's not like this, whereas tomatoes, you know, annuals, things like that, they need a little bit more daily maintenance or weekly maintenance, and so I try to keep those things close to the house. And things that I want to use even more, I keep them even closer. Like I try to have them up here in the very front garden beds. Like I've got green onions that I like to come out and clip. I'll put herbs there that I use in like my daily dinners and things like that. I've got my green stalk right here on my patio, which right now it just has strawberries, but I do like to put things in it that like I just like to grab for dinner, like basil, cilantro, things like that, that are just right here. It's really nice. If you have like, one thing I would like to do is put like a raised bed garden somewhere even closer, like a high, like maybe one of the birdies, like metal ones that are taller, really close to the house, where I could put like lettuce and greens that I would just be able to run out here and grab them for dinner. They're in the raised beds right now, but you know, if you're building your garden, you can think about that. I just think it makes it much better when you are kind of, you know, wanting to actually utilize your produce. So that's my second tip. Think about where you plant. If you have a big space, maybe putting it in the very back corner where you have to walk 10 minutes to get to it, maybe seems like a good idea aesthetically, but it might not be the best idea if you're actually wanting to keep your garden alive and actually use the produce in your garden. So the third is actually about chicken care, which this is just a little mini one that I think is important when it comes to chicken care, and there's tons of videos about this. I could make a whole video about it if y'all are interested, but it's going to be the deep litter method of chicken care. So basically what the deep litter method is in their coop, whatever bedding you choose to use, whether it be like pine or the hemp bedding, or oh my gosh, I can't think of any other ones, but whatever bedding you tend to use, you just put a ton of it in there. Like I put like 6 to 8 inches of bedding, and you only have to clean your chicken coop every 6 months. Some people go a year, 2 years without cleaning their chicken coop. And the deep litter method, basically you just keep adding additional bedding on top of it, and it composts in the chicken coop itself, so it doesn't really smell, doesn't have any issues. I won't talk too much about that one, but yeah, I highly recommend. So my next tip is going to be perennial plants. So perennial plants are plants that come back every single year, and you don't have to replant them. Now, we all love our annuals, right? Like tomatoes, peppers, basil, all those things. Obviously everyone loves that, but they are very labor intensive. You have to start the seeds every year. You have to plan pretty far in advance in order to, you know, get those plants. But things like fruit trees, perennial native flowers, what else? Bushes, like blueberry bushes, blackberry bushes, strawberry plants technically are perennials. I haven't had much luck with them as perennials. Grapes, those are all going to be plants that come back year after year. Now, every climate is different. So if you're in a warmer climate, you're going to have a lot more plants that you can keep alive all year. Like if you live in subtropic region, you can do like bananas, papayas, mangoes, all that awesome stuff that I'm jealous of. But here where we do get hard frosts, hard freezes, we can still do a lot of things. Like right here, you can see my peach tree. This tree is about 3 years old, and I'm already getting really great harvest off of it. I've put in a lot of perennial herbs in an herb bed. I'm going to start a second perennial herb bed this year because the one I have is running out of room. Grapes, and then in my front yard, I'm working on, it's a process, a large perennial native flower bed, which is going to draw pollinators to my yard. But it's not much work for me because once the plants are established, it's drought tolerant. I don't have to keep replanting, and those plants are going to come back bigger and better every year. So the thing about perennials is they do take longer to get established in my experience. You can't plant a peach tree and expect, you know, hundreds of peaches the first year where you could with like a tomato crop. But I think in the long run, it's worth it. It's going to be something that you can invest in your garden to make it just less work overall. Like that means that's just less things you have to plant every year. it's awesome. Springtime rolls around and all your plants wake up and there they are, they're ready to go. So another tip is going to be something that I have not done this year in my garden. Well, I have a little bit, but I haven't with my annual beds, is going to be mulch. Mulch. If you are in a hot, dry climate or a very cold climate, mulch is going to be your best friend, because it's going to make sure that, one, your plants, you know, the soil is going to stay healthier because it's covered and the sun is not directly beating down on the soil, drying it out, you know, all of that. Second of all, water retention. I live in a really hot climate, so I want to retain all the water I possibly can. And when you have a thick layer of mulch, your water is going to evaporate much slower. So that's going to be my project. My next project is mulching, and I should have already done it, but you guys know how it goes. So, and my last tip is going to be plant what you like to eat, because if you don't eat what's in your garden, you're gonna have zero motivation to get outside and to work on your garden. So I don't plant parsley because I have no interest in eating parsley. I don't really plant. I did plant one celery plant last year and it got huge, and I tried to use all of it. I did a little when I was doing TikTok. I don't do TikTok anymore, but I had like, how many days in a row could I use this celery up? It was massive. I don't like celery. So now I will use it in like a soup or something every once in a while. So I might throw one plant in this year and just see how it goes. But I tend to plant things that I like to eat. I love cilantro, tomatoes, cucumbers, green onions. I can't get enough green onions. So that's what I plant in my garden. I plant things that I like, my family eats. And that way, you know, when I go out to the garden, I can just grab things that I already use in my kitchen and use the ones that I grow from my house instead of going to the store. And that just gives, I just think that while there are some plants that are fun to grow, and I do like to grow like unique varieties and things like that, it's always good to have those staples in your garden that you know that you and your family will eat and will use. If you just grow like stuff that you've never tried before, you're probably going to be less likely to actually use it in your garden. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you'll, you know, grow all fennel and decide fennel's your favorite food and that's what you use all the time, and that's great. I think it's fun to experiment with things, especially if it's something that you can't really get at your local grocery store, or if it's something that's really expensive at your local grocery store. I think it's a really good idea to like try it out in your garden. And I always try new varieties of things every single year. That's like part of the fun of gardening. For me is like I have a tea plant this year. I'm growing lavender as well, and then like different varieties of citrus and grapes and things like that. But anyway, so those are my tips for when you're a busy gardener. I want to know if you utilize any of them, or if you have any of your own like tips and tricks that you use. I especially like to know things that people do when they go out of town, because I do like to travel, and so that's something that I'm always trying to keep as many plants alive as I possibly can when I'm traveling. But yeah, that's all for today's video. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Let me know what you're growing in the garden, and I'll see you next time. Bye.